In this video, we are going to be looking at the power of an isolated queen pawn, and this particular topic is a very interesting topic, and this particular topic can actually help you to improve your chess level skill to 100%. Today we are going to be looking at the game played between Alexander Husman versus Levon Aronian, and this is a very instructive and model game, so I don't want to waste any further time, so let's start. So, Alexander Husman is playing with the white pieces and he starts the game with one knight f3. Levon plays d5, d4, knight to f6, c4, and suddenly we have a queen's gambit decline variation, and now we have queen's gambit decline, the Raghav in defense. And here we have the move c into d5, e5, and here we have the move queen to c2. So we kind of have a chessboard structure in this position, where black is having 4 on the queen side, 3 on the king side, whereas white is having 2 on the queen side, whereas 5 on the king side. So basically whenever the c pawn is traded with the e pawn, it is also known as the chessboard structure. So after queen c2, the idea is to generally activate the queen and stopping bishop f5 ideas. And now we have the move c5 by Levon Aronian, already a very interesting move. The idea is pretty clear, black wants to attack in the center. And after c5, white decides to capture the pawn, which is very sensible. And here first, Levon asks the question to the white bishop, what do you want to do? Do you want to capture the knight? Do you want to go back with the knight? Or with the bishop? What is your idea? So first of all, if you would like to capture the knight, black is happy to capture with the queen. And now white has lost his bishop pair, so black is already fine in this position. And if bishop falls back, black is already having some very interesting ideas with g5 hitting the knight, hitting the bishop, and already knight c4 can be an idea, and black is very comfortable. So that's why after h6, white played the move bishop to d2, just getting away from this particular pin. After bishop d2, black played short castle, and here white played a bad move, I would say, which is a3. I would say it is an inaccuracy, because after a3, it simply attacks the bishop, and it says to black, capture the pawn. But guys, just see in this position, if you don't really provoke the bishop is still going to capture the pawn. Like, you can simply continue with e3, which is the best move to be played. And after bishop takes, rook c1, queen e7, bishop e2, e6. Now black's idea is to play b5, bishop b7. So we first play queen d3 to attack this pawn and provoke black to play knight b6 in order to defend the pawn. And now we simply short castle, and we have a standard isolani in this position where white needs to guard the d4 square, and white is pretty fine. But white plays the move a3, which it is basically a slow move, and it gives black the time to activate his pieces. Bishop c5, e3, a6, bishop e2, b5, expanding on the queen side, and now simply developing the minor piece. And now a very interesting move, rook c8 and rook e8. So basically, now black has gotten all his pieces into the play, and now black is having 2 ideas in this position, as I've said in my previous video. One idea is to suddenly launch a d4 break, getting a good initiative. It can even be in the form of pawn sacrifice. And the second idea is generally to put the queen on d6 or e5 and put the bishop on behind, trying to target the h2 pawn, and followed by knight to e4 and put one bishop to g4, attack the knight. This is a very crazy attack. So rook to e8, and here white decides to play the move rook to c1, getting all his pieces into the game. And here Levon played the move knight to f8 in this position. So already his idea is pretty clear. He wants to play knight e6 followed by the move d4, having a central break. But another idea could have been to play the move knight to b6 in this position, which is even a slightly better idea. The idea is to simply put the knight to c4. And the knight is extremely strong in this position, and of course if you try to capture the bishop, the knight with the bishop, black is happy to capture the bishop with the b pawn, and black is having the bishop pair and more space in the center. The b2 pawn is already a bit weak, black is very comfortable. So going back, after knight c4 we have the move bishop f3, and here black can play the move queen e7 followed by queen e5. As I said, the idea is to put the queen to e5, and now the idea is bishop d6, knight e4, and black is even slightly better in this position. So this could have been the best idea, but the idea chosen by Levon Aronian isn't bad at all. Knight f8, the idea is to put the knight to e6, getting a d4 break. White plays knight to d4, we have the move queen to b6, activating the queen, putting some pressure on the knight, And now we have the move bishop to f3 by white. Already a mistake. The best move could have been to play the move queen to d2, guarding the d4 square. And after queen d2, knight e6, you can already take on e6, bishop f3, bishop b6, and the position is roundabout even. I would say it is a standard isolani. Black can't really push the pawn because the bishop is hanging, and if you try to go for capturing the pawn in this position, because it looks like it's hanging because 4 pieces are attacking it, whereas there are only 3 defenders. But it's still not working because after knight takes pawn, rook takes rook, you have to capture the knight, giving a check, takes, and after rook takes, black can already capture on f3, and white is just losing a pawn. So basically, material wise, it's an even position, but white's king side is extremely weak, so it's a completely winning position for black. Rook e6, rook g6, the game is over. So that's why queen d2 would have been the best idea, but we have the move bishop to f3 by white, which actually is a bad move, and you can try to pause the video and try to find the best continuation for black in this particular position. Okay, so if you found the move bishop into knight, excellent. The point here is pretty simple. If you try to capture with the pawn in this position, black is pretty happy. Now the d5 weakness is no more, and black's pieces are much more nicely placed compared to the white's pieces. The bishop on e1 is kind of dead piece. Black can play the move knight e6, putting more pressure on the d4 pawn, and black is pretty happy. But we have the move takes, and which is the best move, but it simply allows the move knight to e6, attacking the rook, and now white simply went back with the rook. The idea could be to play the rook g1 in the future, maybe. But here comes a very strong move in the position, which I think you might have calculated. Very few numbers, but g4. Excellent move by Levon Aronian. What's the idea? After d4, we have bishop d7, queen d7, and it looks like black simply lost a pawn. But guys, here comes the main move in this position. You can try to pause the video and try to find the best move. Okay, so if you found the move, I'm pretty sure that many of you guys would have thought like knight to g5, attacking the knight can't really take because the queen is hanging. Yeah, that's the idea, but in a different way, knight to e4. You attack the knight, at the same time you also attack the rook. And after knight to e4, we have the move rook to d1. If you try to play the move rook e2, it's already not working because knight d4 and you lose everything. So you kind of have to protect the d4 pawn. So rook to d1, and after rook g1 comes a very strong move, knight to f4. Now black simply centralized both his knights by just sacrificing a pawn. So this is what means sacrificing a pawn for a great initiative. So after knight f4, what's the idea? After knight f4, black's idea is already to capture the knight on c3, followed by threatening a checkmate on g2. So after knight f3, knight to f4. Now in the game we have the move d5. If white goes for playing the move f3, trying to stop a checkmate on g2, after f3, black can already play the move knight takes, bishop takes, and now we have a knight check, capturing the rook, so we are already in exchange up. And now a very strong move, a5. The idea is to simply play the move b4, attack the bishop. You can't move the bishop because the queen is hanging, and black is already winning in this position. So going back, f3 is already could have been a possibility, but we have the move d5 just blocking this particular diagonal. And after g5, we have the move a5 by Levon Aronian, a very interesting move and the best move I would say. Like a5, the idea is pretty simple. Like many of the players in this particular position after d5 would love to play the move knight into knight, bishop into knight to e2 check, king h1, and after knight takes, queen takes. Like this can be a possibility, but guys, it simply gives white a bit amount of counterplay because of the strong d5 pawn. So why give white any amount of counterplay when you have the best move up your sleeve by playing the move a5? Now what's the idea? Black's idea is to simply push the pawn. You can't move the knight because the queen is hanging. So you kind of have to move the queen now. And after queen b3, black still play the move b4. Now black's, you must be thinking you can't really capture the knight because the queen is hanging. But here black's idea is to first play knight c5, attack the queen, and then simply capture a free knight. And black is winning. So white kind of have to capture knight to a2, move the knight, attacking the b4 pawn. But now comes the moment, simply give a check, capture the rook. And now we have the move knight to f6, attacking the pawn. Now here in the game we have d6. If white goes for capturing the pawn, black can already play rook b8. You can't move the bishop because the queen would be hanging. You have to protect the bishop, and now a very strong move, knight d5, simply capturing the pawn. Because if you try to capture with the queen, for example, simply queen d5, rook d5, and here comes a strong move, rook into bishop, taking control of the e1 square, takes, and it's already a mate. So going back, after a knight a2 takes, if you try to capture with the rook in this position, already rook to e1 check, and after bishop takes, black can already win a free queen. So that's what exactly happens if bishop b4. So that's why we have the move d6 in the game, and now we have the move queen to c6. Black's idea is already to maybe even sacrifice the queen for the knight, rook, and the bishop. So after queen c6, we have the move knight to a2, attacking the b4 pawn, and now we have the move queen to d6, a very strong move. You can't really capture the queen because it's a one move mate. So after queen d6, we have the move bishop b4 attacking the queen, queen to b6 attacking the f2 pawn, and also the idea could be to put some pressure on the bishop. So we have the move f3, but now already queen to f2. Black's idea is pretty simple, just get in with either of a rook and just attack the b2 pawn, g2 pawn, and the game is extremely over. So that's why after queen f2 on the move number 33, Alexander Husman decided to resign the game against Levon Aronian. So it was simply instructive and a beautiful game played by Levon Aronian to beat Alexander Husman. This game definitely is an example of how an isolated queen pawn can be converted into a win by just sacrificing a pawn to get a huge amount of initiative. That's what exactly happened in the game. Just let me take you back some moments, like over here, like sacrificing the pawn and getting in with the knights, just launching a deadly attack on the king side, and eventually you are just simply, when all the pieces are activating, you are now starting to get some more space on the queen side, just activating all your pieces into the game, knight e2 check, capturing the rook, and now getting an exchange up, and now suddenly just simply simplifying the position and eventually winning the game. So a very interesting game. So if you love this game and learned anything new today, make sure to like the video, share this video with everyone, and make sure to subscribe to our channel if you are new to our channel. I'm going to come up with these instructive videos like this. So if you're not yet a subscriber, make sure to subscribe, because still 93% of you guys have not yet subscribed. It's free for you, but it helps us to motivate to make more videos like this. So I'm going to see you soon, so till then stay tuned and keep watching Oneshot Chess.